Rain fell hard on the streets of New Vegas City, making the neon lights blur like colors in wet paint. Detective Marcus Hale stood under a broken street lamp, collar pulled high, trying to light a cigarette that refused to burn. The city smelled like oil, smoke, and trouble. But tonight he needed a smell sharper than human senses could give. Somewhere out there was a killer, and Marcus was running out of time to find him. He had heard whispers about a Gurland alien from the Thren species. They said she could smell blood from a mile away, fear from even further. Her name was Kara. And she didn't work for humans, at least not usually, but Marcus was desperate enough to try. He found her in the back corner of a small alien cafe, sitting alone with a cup of dark, steaming liquid that smelled like burned metal. She had pale blue skin, silver eyes that caught the light, and hair that shimmered like liquid glass. Her nose was small, but it twitched slightly every time someone walked past. Like she was scanning the air without even thinking, Marcus approached her table, his boots squeaking on the wet floor. "You're Kara?" he asked. She didn't look up. Depends who's asking. "Marcus Hale, detective. I need your help to find someone." She finally raised her gaze, her eyes sharp and calm. "Find someone. Or find something they left behind." Marcus slid a photo across the table, a picture of a young man with a scar on his jaw. "He killed 3 people last week, and he's hiding somewhere in the city," Marcus said. Kara stared at the photo for a moment, then closed her eyes and sniffed the air. Her expression changed, almost like she had tasted the man's scent through the image. "I can find him," she said quietly, "but I have rules." Marcus leaned in. "Name them." "No lies, no holding back information, and if I smell something I don't like." "We stop," she said. Marcus hesitated. "What do you mean by something you don't like?" Her silver eyes met his. "You don't want to find out." They left the cafe together, walking through narrow alleys slick with rain. Kara's head turned slightly every few steps, her nostrils flaring as if the air was telling her secrets. "His scent is faint," she said, "but it's here." Old, mixed with oil and rust, they followed the trail into the industrial district, where huge pipes hissed steam into the night. Kara stopped suddenly, her eyes narrowing. Marcus almost bumped into her. "What is it?" She didn't answer. At first, just sniffed the air again and again. Finally, she spoke. "The killer was here. Not long ago." Marcus's pulse quickened. "Then we're close." Kara shook her head. "No. There's something else." Her gaze moved to Marcus's coat, her expression hardening. Marcus frowned. "What? What is it?" She stepped closer, her nose almost touching his shoulder, and inhaled slowly. Her voice was cold when she said, "His scent is on you." The words hit Marcus like a punch. "That's impossible," he said quickly. "I've never met him." Kara didn't blink. "Scent doesn't lie." Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine, the rain suddenly colder than before. "Someone planted it," he said. "There." Trying to frame me, Kara's silver eyes stayed locked on him, reading him like a book. "Maybe," she said. "Or maybe he's closer to you than you think." Marcus swallowed hard. "Do you still want the job?" Kara tilted her head, her nose twitching once more. "I've already taken it," she said. "Now let's see where this scent leads." They moved deeper into the maze of steel and shadows, the city feeling quieter, heavier. Kara led without hesitation, like an animal on the hunt. Every turn they took made Marcus feel like they were being watched. At one point, Kara stopped again and whispered, "Don't look back." Marcus froze. "Why?" "Because whatever's behind us, it's not human." Rain dripped from the pipes above, masking the faint sound of footsteps behind them. Marcus's hand went to his sidearm, but Kara's hand shot out, gripping his wrist. "Not yet," she said. "We want them to follow us." Marcus didn't like the plan, but something in her tone told him she knew exactly what she was doing as they reached the end of the alley. Kara turned left without warning, pressing Marcus into the shadows. The footsteps grew louder, then stopped. Marcus held his breath. Kara leaned close to his ear and whispered, 3 heartbeats. One of them belongs to your killer. And just like that, Marcus knew this job was going to be nothing like he expected. The rain didn't stop through the night, turning the streets into dark rivers of light and shadow. Marcus followed Kara. Without asking where she was going, her pace quick but silent, her nose moving like a radar that only she could hear. Every now and then she would pause, breathe in slow, and then keep walking. Marcus noticed she never looked at signs or maps. It was as if the city itself was speaking to her through the air. They passed through a market district still awake despite the late hour. Alien traders shouting in strange languages, the smell of fried food and metal dust mixing together. Kara ignored all of it, her attention fixed on something only she could sense. Marcus's boots splashed in shallow puddles as he tried to keep up. Finally, she stopped near a drainage pipe that ran along the side of a wall. Crouching low, Marcus frowned. What is it? Kara reached inside and pulled out a small, torn piece of cloth. Dark stains visible even in the weak light. She held it close to her nose, breathing in deep. Her expression shifted from calm to sharp in an instant. This is fresh, she said. Her voice low. He was here less than 2 hours ago. Marcus's pulse quickened. Then we're right on him. Kara shook her head, her eyes narrowing. No, she whispered. We're on them. Marcus froze. Them. Her gaze flicked around the shadows. There's more than one scent. 2 killers. Maybe more. That hit Marcus harder than he wanted to admit. He had been chasing one man, thinking it was a simple hunt. Now, the idea of multiple targets changed everything. Before he could ask more, Kara suddenly stiffened, her nostrils flaring. Her head turned slowly toward him. The look in her eyes made his chest tighten. What? He asked, his voice tighter than he wanted. Kara stepped closer until she was only inches away. The scent on your coat. It's stronger now, she said, and it wasn't there when we left the cafe. Marcus felt a cold wave wash through him. Someone had been close enough to touch him without him noticing. They're playing with you, Kara said quietly, leaving their mark so I can follow it. But that means they know who I am. Marcus tried to steady his breathing. So what's the plan? Kara looked at him for a long moment, her silver eyes unreadable. We move fast before they decide the game is over, she said. They cut through a narrow service alley where the smell of burning oil stung Marcus's nose. Kara didn't slow down, her head tilting slightly every few steps. Stay close, she murmured, and don't speak unless I tell you. Marcus obeyed, sensing that the air itself was tense around them. At one point, a shadow moved across the rooftop above. Quick and silent, Marcus reached for his gun. But Kara's hand caught his wrist, her grip firm. She shook her head once. Eyes still forward. Whoever it was, she didn't want to spook them. Yet they entered an old warehouse district, most of the buildings abandoned. Inside one open doorway, Kara paused, inhaling deeply. Marcus stepped closer and saw broken crates, empty bottles, and strange symbols painted on the walls. This is one of their stops, Kara said. They keep moving, but always circle back here. Like wolves marking territory, Marcus crouched near one of the symbols, running his fingers over it. What does it mean? Kara's nose twitched. It means they've been watching you for weeks. Marcus felt his stomach turn. How? Do you know that? She stepped closer to the wall, breathing in the faint scent hidden in the paint. They know your habits, your roots, even your smell, she said. Before Marcus could respond, a soft metallic click echoed through the warehouse. Kara's eyes darted toward the sound. Marcus pulled his gun, aiming at the dark corner where it came from. A shape moved, tall and thin, but before Marcus could fire, Kara grabbed his arm again. "Not yet," she whispered. "He's bait." The figure melted back into the shadows, and Kara didn't chase. Instead, she knelt. Touching the dusty floor, Marcus followed her gaze and saw it a small bead. Glowing faintly blue, Kara picked it up, sniffed it once, and her entire body tensed. "They're masking their real scent with this," she said. "A plant from my homeworld." Marcus didn't understand. "So?" Kara looked at him, her voice cold. "It's rare, expensive, and only someone from my own people would know how to use it." Marcus realized the truth the same moment she said it. One of them. Is Thren. Kara didn't speak after that, just stood and walked toward the exit. The rain outside had stopped, but the air felt heavier. Marcus followed in silence, feeling the city close in around them. They were no longer chasing shadows. "We're chasing them." Kara finally stopped at the mouth of another alley. Turning to him, "If I'm right," she said softly, "the next time we see them, it won't be from a distance." Marcus tightened his grip on his gun. The night, suddenly, felt shorter. The city never really slept, but some streets had a different kind of silence. Marcus and Kara walked through one of those streets now, where every window was dark, and every shadow seemed to still. The earlier rain had left the ground slick. Reflecting the dim glow of broken street lamps, Kara moved like a predator, each step slow, controlled, her eyes scanning while her nose searched the air. Marcus couldn't shake the weight in his chest. The idea of more than one killer had already been bad. But the thought that one might be from Kara's own people made it worse. He had worked with alien partners before, but Kara was different. She carried herself like someone who had seen danger and walked away from it more than once. Without warning, she stopped, her hand snapping up for him to halt. Marcus froze, eyes scanning the street. "What is it?" he whispered. She didn't answer right away, only leaned forward slightly and inhaled. Her voice was low when she finally spoke. "They've been here tonight." Marcus's eyes swept over the empty street. "Where?" Kara pointed to a set of metal stairs leading up to an old apartment building. The door at the top was hanging half open, swaying gently as if it had been pushed recently. Marcus pulled his gun without thinking. Kara gave him a short nod and climbed the stairs first. Each step groaned under their weight. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of mold and rust. Kara's nose twitched as she moved deeper into the narrow hallway. Suddenly, she stopped beside a cracked wall where faded paint peeled like dry skin. She pressed her palm against it and looked at Marcus. They were here, but they weren't alone, she said. Marcus's brow furrowed. "Who else?" Kara's eyes darkened. "Someone who's not going to live long if we don't hurry." They followed the scent trail into a back room where the light barely reached. On the floor was a metal chair, knocked over, its legs bent like it had been thrown. Marcus bent down and found a single silver ring lying near it. He held it up. "Do you recognize this?" Kara leaned close, inhaled once, and her eyes widened. "It belongs to the man we're hunting," she said. "But—" Her nose flared again, her voice sharpening. "There's another scent on it." "Female Thren." Marcus felt a shiver crawl down his back. "You think it's your Kara?" Cut him off sharply. "Don't finish that sentence." The air between them grew heavier. Kara's movements became quicker, almost restless. She paced the room twice, sniffing at the air, then stopped suddenly. "They left something behind," she murmured. Marcus watched as she moved to a small vent in the corner of the room. She unscrewed the rusted cover with quick hands. Inside was a folded piece of fabric, dark red. Kara pulled it out and held it close to her face. Her eyes closed as she took a long breath. When she opened them again, they were colder than before. "They know I'm tracking them," she said, "and they're leaving this to distract me." Marcus stepped closer. Then we're walking into a trap. Kara gave him a small, humorless smile. We've been in the trap since you hired me, before Marcus could answer. A sound came from outside the window, a faint scrape. Metal against metal. Kara's head turned sharply. She moved to the window, opened it slowly, and looked down. Marcus came up beside her and saw a figure standing in the alley below, tall. Wearing a hood, completely still, the figure tilted its head upward, as if it knew they were watching. Kara whispered, "That's not him. That's a messenger." Marcus's grip on his gun tightened. What do they want? Kara didn't blink. They want us to follow. The figure turned and walked into the deeper shadows of the alley. Kara climbed out of the window without hesitation. Marcus cursed under his breath, but followed, landing hard on the wet ground. The alley was narrow, the walls high, and the air smelled faintly of smoke. They followed the figure until it turned a corner, only to find the space empty. Marcus spun around, scanning the rooftops. "They're gone," he said. Kara didn't answer. Her focus was on the wall ahead. Carved into it with something sharp was a single word in the Thren language. Marcus didn't know what it meant. Kara translated without looking at him. "It means family." Her voice was quiet, but there was a tension in it that Marcus hadn't heard before. It wasn't fear exactly, but it was close. She stepped back from the wall, her gaze moving down the alley. "They're not just sending a message," she said. "They're telling me this is personal." Marcus's jaw tightened. "Then we hit back, before they decide to finish this." Kara's silver eyes met his in the dim light. "No," she said. "We make them think we're running, right into their hands. And then we close the trap on them instead." The night had a strange stillness. The kind that made every sound feel louder. Marcus and Kara moved through the lower levels of the city, where the streets twisted into tunnels and the air grew heavier. The scent trail had led them here, into a part of New Vega that even most criminals avoided. Kara walked ahead, her posture tense, her head turning slightly every few steps. Marcus noticed her breathing was sharper now. Not from exhaustion, but from concentration. They reached the edge of an old industrial zone, the buildings tall and silent like giant tombstones. Rust covered every surface. Pipes leaked steam into the darkness, and the ground was littered with broken glass. Kara stopped suddenly, her hand going up for silence. Marcus froze, scanning the shadows. She sniffed the air once, twice, and then her voice came out low. "They're close." Closer than before. Marcus tightened his grip on his weapon. "How close?" Kara's silver eyes caught the dim light. "If you breathe too loud, they'll hear you." Before he could reply, she moved forward quickly, leading him toward a half-collapsed factory. The doors were wide open, swinging gently on rusty hinges. The smell hit Marcus first, something metallic, mixed with oil and something else he couldn't name. Inside, the floor was covered in deep shadows. The high windows cracked and dirty. Kara crouched low, touching the ground with her fingertips. Her nose twitched as she inhaled. "They were here minutes ago," she whispered, "but they didn't come alone." Marcus scanned the corners, his heart beating faster. Who else? Kara's gaze was sharp. People who aren't going to leave this place alive. They moved deeper into the factory, weaving between old machines that stood like dead giants somewhere ahead. A faint drip of water echoed. Kara paused near a wall where the paint had been scraped away. She leaned in close, inhaled, and pulled back with a frown. "They're masking their scent again," she said, "but it's stronger than before. It's almost like they want me to follow." Marcus's stomach tightened. "Which means they know we're coming." Kara didn't answer. She had already started walking toward the center of the room. Suddenly, a loud clang rang out above them, and both of them looked up. A shadow moved across a steel walkway high overhead, then vanished. Marcus aimed his gun upward. Kara didn't fire. "They're hurting us." she said quietly, like prey, before Marcus could speak. The factory doors slammed shut behind them with a heavy crash. The sound echoed through the space, followed by the hum of hidden machinery powering up. Dim red lights flickered to life along the walls, bathing the factory in a dull, menacing glow. Kara's head turned sharply toward a side corridor. "This way," she said. Her voice urgent. They ran, their footsteps pounding against the concrete. The air grew warmer. The deeper they went, and Marcus realized the walls were lined with cage, dozens of them. Most were empty, but some still had chains hanging from the bars. It was clear now this wasn't just a hideout. It had been used for holding people. Kara stopped at the far end of the corridor. Her body going rigid, Marcus came up beside her and saw why. In the largest cage sat a single chair, and on it lay a piece of folded black cloth. Kara stepped inside, picked it up, and held it to her face. She froze for a moment before lowering it slowly. "It's my brothers," she said softly. "They're telling me I'm too late." Marcus's jaw tightened. "They're trying to break you." Kara's silver eyes flashed in the red light. "They've forgotten what happens when you push a thread too far." A sudden noise echoed from above, metal grinding against metal. Marcus looked up just in time to see heavy steel shutters dropping over the corridor entrances. They were trapped. The sound of footsteps began to approach. Slow and deliberate, Kara closed her eyes for a moment, inhaling deeply. "There. Not hiding anymore," she said. "They're coming for us." Marcus stepped beside her, gun ready. "How many?" Her lips curved into a cold smile, enough to make this interesting. The red light made the shadows seem alive. Moving across the walls like silent hunters, Marcus kept his gun up. His eyes couldn't decide where to focus. Resound seemed to come from a different direction. Kara stood still, her head tilted slightly, nostrils flaring as she read the air like it was an open book. "They've split up," she whispered. "3 behind us, 2 ahead." Marcus glanced over his shoulder, but the corridor behind them was empty. "They're hiding." Kara shook her head. "They're waiting for the right moment." Before Marcus could reply, a low metallic scrape echoed from above. He looked up too late. Something dropped from the steel walkway and landed between them with a heavy thud. It was tall, armored, its face hidden behind a mask with glowing red eyes. The figure didn't speak yet, simply tilted its head toward Marcus like it was choosing which part of him to break first. Kara moved before Marcus could raise his gun, her body a blur. She slammed into the figure, knocking it back into the cage wall, the sound ringing through the factory. The masked alien swung a heavy punch, but Kara ducked under it, twisting and driving her elbow into its chest. The air left the attacker in a sharp grunt. Marcus fired at another shadow, moving. On the left, the bullets sparking off metal armor. 2 more figures emerged from the darkness, their movements fast and coordinated. Kara grabbed Marcus by the arm, pulling him toward the center of the room. "They're not trying to kill us yet," she said, her eyes cold. "They want to wear us down." Marcus's breath was heavy. "Then let's ruin their plan." The attackers closed in, their boots heavy on the concrete. Kara spun, her leg whipping out in a sharp kick that sent one stumbling into the wall. Marcus fired again, this time hitting a gap in another's. Arm of the figure dropped instantly. But the moment of victory was short. From the far corner, a voice spoke in the Thren language, low and sharp. Kara froze mid-step, her head turning toward the sound. Marcus saw her expression change, her eyes no longer cold but conflicted. The voice spoke again, and though Marcus couldn't understand the words, he could hear something dangerous in them. "Who is that?" he demanded. Kara's jaw tightened. "My brother," before Marcus could react. One of the attackers threw a small metal sphere onto the floor. It cracked open, releasing a cloud of thick green gas. Kara coughed once, then staggered. Marcus grabbed her, trying to pull her away, but the gas filled the air too quickly. His vision blurred, the red lights turning into spinning streaks through the haze. Marcus heard Kara's voice, faint but urgent. "They're taking us to the hive." Then everything went black. When Marcus opened his eyes, the air was damp and cold. He was lying on a hard floor, his wrists bound with some kind of glowing restraint. The space around him was dim, lit only by a few flickering lights. It took him a moment to realize they were underground. The walls made of some strange living material that pulsed faintly across from him. Kara was also bound, but her eyes were open and alert. "They want me to find someone for them," she said quietly. Marcus frowned. "What?" She met his eyes. "They didn't capture us to stop the hunt. They want me to hunt for them." Marcus's mind raced. "They're using you." Kara's voice dropped. "And if I refuse, they'll kill you." From the shadows, another figure stepped forward, taller than the others, wearing armor that looked older, worn but strong. Its mask retracted, revealing a face with the same silver eyes as Kara. The resemblance was unmistakable. Kara's brother looked at her without emotion. "This isn't your city," he said in the Thren tongue. "Leave the human and come home." Kara didn't answer. Her eyes stayed locked on his. Marcus could feel the tension between them like a wire pulled tight, and in that moment, he knew whatever happened next wasn't going to end without blood. The underground chamber was silent except for the faint pulse of the living walls. Marcus's wrists burned where the restraints dug into his skin, but his eyes stayed on Kara. Her brother stood between them, his silver eyes cold, his expression unreadable. Kara's breathing was steady, but Marcus could see the small movements in her jaw. She was holding something back. "I told you to come home," her brother said again, his voice carrying the weight of command. Kara tilted her head slightly. "Home doesn't chain people to walls." He didn't flinch. "This human isn't worth your life." Marcus gave a dry laugh, despite the danger. "Nice to meet you too." One of the masked guards moved forward, grabbing Marcus by the collar. Kara's eyes narrowed instantly. Her brother raised a hand, stopping the guard. "You're here because you've been tracking someone," he said. "Finish the job and walk away alive." Kara's voice was sharp. "And if I don't?" Her brother's lips curved into something between a smile and a warning. "Then I'll bury him so deep in this hive, no one will ever smell him again." Marcus could feel the weight of the choice pressing against the air, but Kara didn't answer right away. She closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. Marcus realized she wasn't smelling the air for the killer anymore. She was reading the room, every guard, every trace of movement, every scent of fear or confidence. When she opened her eyes, they were different, harder, sharper. "You've made a mistake," she said to her brother. His expression didn't change. "And what mistake is that?" Kara's tone was cold. "You brought me into your home ground, thinking it would weaken me. But it just told me where all your weaknesses are, before anyone could move." Kara twisted her wrists in the restraints, the glowing bands snapping with a sharp crack. She lunged forward, her elbow smashing into the nearest guard's helmet, sending him crashing to the floor. The chamber erupted in shouts, the walls trembling from the sudden chaos. Marcus tried to move, but the restraints still held him. Kara moved like lightning, using the narrow space to her advantage. Slamming two more guards into the walls, her brother stepped forward, drawing a curved blade from his side. "Enough," he said, his voice calm but deadly. Kara turned to face him, her stance low and ready. They circled each other, their movements almost mirrored. Marcus could only watch, his heart pounding. Her brother struck first, the blade flashing toward her head. Kara ducked, twisting behind him and striking his back with a sharp kick. He staggered, but didn't fall, spinning to block her next strike. "You've grown," he said. I've had two, she replied, her voice steady. They clashed again, the sound of metal ringing through the chamber. Marcus saw his chance. One of the fallen guards had dropped a small cutting tool. He dragged himself toward it, the restraints biting into his wrists. Kara's brother pressed her back against the wall, the blade at her throat. Last chance, he said. Kara's eyes flicked toward Marcus for the briefest second, and that was enough. Marcus sliced through his restraints. The band falling to the floor with a faint hiss, he grabbed a metal pipe from the ground and swung it hard. The blow caught Kara's brother on the shoulder, knocking him off balance. Kara moved instantly, slamming her palm into his chest and sending him sprawling to the floor. The guards hesitated, unsure whether to attack or run. Kara didn't give them time to decide. She grabbed Marcus's arm, pulling him toward a narrow tunnel at the back of the chamber. They'll be after us in seconds, she said. Marcus followed, his voice low. So where now? Kara's silver eyes glinted. In the dim light, now, she said. We turn the hunt back on them. The tunnel twisted downward, the walls damp and rough under their hands. Marcus followed close behind Kara, his breath quick but steady behind them. Faint echoes of pursuit grew louder. Their enemies were not giving up. Kara didn't slow. Her movements precise, every turn chosen with purpose. She wasn't running blind. She was leading them somewhere. Finally, the tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber. Old machinery stood like skeletal giants, gears and chains frozen in. Rust pipes dripped water from high above, the sound echoing like a slow clock. Marcus stopped to catch his breath. Where are we? Kara's voice was calm. The old refinery. My people abandoned it decades ago. They won't know the terrain like I do. She knelt, touching the ground, her nose twitching. They're splitting into two groups, she said. They'll try to corner us. Marcus looked around. Then we don't give them the chance. Kara's silver eyes caught the dim light, a dangerous spark in them. Exactly, she said. She moved quickly, leading Marcus up a metal staircase to a walkway that circled the chamber. From here, they could see the shadows moving below 5 figures, weapons ready, scanning the space. Kara pointed to a cluster of hanging chains, swaying slightly in the damp air when they pass under. Cut them loose, she whispered. Marcus nodded, gripping a rusted lever nearby. The first group came in silently. Unaware, Kara waited, every muscle still, her breathing slow. When the last of them stepped under the chains, she gave a sharp nod. Marcus pulled the lever, and the chains dropped like a rain of steel. The sound was deafening. The attackers caught off guard, one falling instantly, 2 more stumbling in pain. The second group reacted fast, aiming upward. Marcus ducked as a bolt of energy hit the railing beside him, sending sparks into the air. Kara leaped down from the walkway, landing in front of them with cat-like grace. Her movements were a blur to 2 sharp strikes, a sweep of her leg, and the attackers were on the ground, weapons clattering away. Then a familiar voice echoed through the chamber. Kara's brother stepped into the dim light, his blade still in hand. The silver in his eyes burned brighter than before. You could have left, he said. You could have walked away. Kara's voice was steady, and leave the human to die. Not a chance. He charged, blade cutting the air between them. Kara met him head-on, their strikes fast and violent. Marcus moved to help, but Kara shouted, No. This is mine. The clash of metal rang out, each blow sending shockwaves through the steel floor. Her brother was strong, but Kara's speed and precision gave her the edge. Finally, she caught his blade between her forearms, twisting it free and sending it spinning into the dark. They stood face to face, breathing hard. Her brother's expression changed, less anger now, more respect. You've become stronger than I thought, he said. Kara's voice was quiet but final. Strength isn't enough. Knowing who to protect is what matters. She stepped back, letting him stand. Her brother gave one last glance at Marcus, then faded into the shadows without another word. The remaining attackers fled, their footsteps echoing away. Marcus exhaled slowly, lowering his weapon. That was personal, he said. Kara looked at him, a faint smirk on her lips. Everything worth fighting for is personal, she replied. They climbed back to the surface as the first light of morning broke over the city. Marcus glanced at her as they walked. So, job over. Kara's nose twitched once more, her silver eyes scanning the streets ahead. For now, she said, but the hunt never really ends. And somewhere deep in the city, Marcus knew she was right.